That awkward moment when I haven't uploaded in about a month, and here I am looking at this card. True to be me, Princess of Maples. Now, I have quite a bit to say about this card, and I'll probably save all that for a separate video because at the time of this recording and whatnot, there's actually a lot of other stuff released in, or that's been spoiled in Legacy of the Valiant. If you guys recall, we knew about 2 Shinra monsters or whatever, the big tree thing, Regia, and then Peace. Well, you know, they got an Xyz, and there's a bunch of other monsters now. So it's basically an archetype of monsters, and they even have a freaking field spell too. We're going to go over all of that in a separate video because I feel it's more appropriate to do it that way. But yeah, for now, at this moment in time, I'm back. I'm alive! Yes, indeed, I am indeed alive. As far as uploading, for how long, I do not know. I couldn't tell you because apparently once I get stuck on something, I'm going to be there for a long time. Apparently, that's just how it's going to be. But nonetheless, this is it. People have been wanting this stuff for a while now. I mean, people have still left comments, you know, asking me to update this deck or show an updated deck list or whatever. And yeah, I said I would do it. Who knows when I would get to it, but it would be the next video, which ends up being a month later at the time of this video being posted, of course, and of course the random commentary of this deck that goes along with it. But, you know, that's just how things go, I guess. Yeah. The extra deck has not changed at all. I mean, there's a couple of things that I may run later, but that's for later. I mean, this is pretty much what I had before I, you know, went on a month-long break, I guess. I mean, I guess part of it is just because, you know, I've been playing Pokemon X a lot, and Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't know, it's starting to drop its excitement levels dropping a little bit for me. Well, I guess it's just because I'm seeing the same stuff over and over, even though I know it's, you know, it's Dragon Rulers. They are the competitive deck of the format. I would just like to see other decks do just as well, you know, because I do understand that you obviously should play the best deck, and honestly, if you're not playing the best deck, then, well, shame on you, I guess, because if you lose to them, you only have yourself to blame, or their sackiness, I guess, whichever comes first. And it's probably going to be the latter. But we're going to move on to the deck profile because that's what you want. So here we go. So we have 2 copies of Talaya, Princess of Cherry Blossoms, 1 Titania, Princess of Camellias. And that's probably how you're supposed to say it. Camellias, not Camellias, like I've been saying it for who knows how long. Yeah. 1 copy of Fallen Angel Roses. Not 1 copy. Just 1 Fallen Angel Roses, not 1 copy. 2 copies of Gigaplant. 2 copies of Violet Witch. 1 Lone Fire Blossom. 1 Dandelion. 1 Spore. 1 Naturia Rose Whip. I'll explain her using the deck later. Double Crane. I will explain this too, why I'm only running 2 and not 3. Triple Junk Forward. Again, I will explain why 3 instead of 2. 1 Spell Striker and double Redox. Oh my god, a Dragon Ruler! Unsubscribe. That aside, I'll explain why he's in there too. There's a lot of explaining to do. So once I get through the main deck, I'm mainly going to be explaining the new additions. The rest I think is kind of self-explanatory, but I will explain a couple of minor things just as a refresher course. But, you know, the old deck profile also had me explaining stuff, and it was like half an hour long. That was fun. But yeah. But the spells: Dark Hole, Foolish Burial, Reinforcement of the Army, Mind Control, Book of Moon, 2 copies of Forbidden Lands, 2 copies of Pot of Duality, 2 copies of Miracle Fertilizer, and then for the traps, we have 2 Call of the Haunted, 1 Solemn Warning, 1 Torrential Tribute, 1 Compulsory Evacuation Device, 1 Bottomless Trap Hole, 1 Mirror Force, and 2 Trap Stuns. The extra deck has literally not changed at all. 1 Black Rose Dragon, Formula Synchron, Mistbird Colossus, Armory Arm, TG Hyper Librarian, Scrap Dragon, Stardust Dragon, and Shooting Star Dragon. For the Xyz, we have Malaya of the Trees. We were running 3. 3 Malaya of the Trees. They rhyme for some reason. Yeah, I don't know. That's just awkward. Number 17, Leviathan Dragon. Mech-Equipped Engineer. Hieratic Sun Dragon Overlord Heliopolis and Divine Dragon Knight Valgrind. I don't know why they did that. I mean, Valgrind the Divine Dragon Knight was perfectly okay with me, and now they just literally flipped it around a little bit, and there you go. You just take out the in it, and yeah, you just rearrange the words, and there you go. Had a whole new TCG name for you. Great job. But sideboard is just, stuff that I either took out or I've even considered running, and I'll explain that as we go along. Now, for Talaya, simple premise of the deck, get out 2 of these lovely ladies onto the field. Because her effect that states that other plant-type monsters on the field cannot be destroyed by card effects, it will stack with 2. So if you get 2 of them on the field, neither of them can be destroyed by card effects. Neither will any of the plants that you summon from there on out. So if you have these on the field and you start summoning other plant-type monsters, cards like Mirror Force, Bottomless Trap Hole, they will do nothing. Cards like a Pulse will, though, because it doesn't destroy. But if you have Titania, you can't prevent that, so keep that in mind. It just depends on what you have on board. But yeah, the odd premise, I guess, is getting 2 of these on the field and then working from there. Titania, just because another Flock Princess and adds another layer of protection for the deck, just being able to tribute a plant-type monster to negate a card effect that would target something on the field. It's nice. And, I guess some people, if you watch other people, you may know her as the original Big Booty Bitch as far as, plant princesses go. So, yeah, before Talaya showed up, but that's kind of besides the point, right? Yeah, it is, but just very good. I only run 1, and 2, I mean, if you don't want to run 2 Talaya, you can obviously take 1 out, and you can maybe put in Marina in place, but, I will explain why I'm not running Marina in the deck. So, moving on. Fallen Angel Roses. I actually put her back in the deck from when I was running, like, Mystic Tomatoes in there, or Mystic Tomatoes, or whatever, but yeah, the reason I'm running her now is because, well, I'm running a couple more plant additions to the deck, but also, she's just another target that I can use with Redox. Now, I would be running rank 7s, but I don't have the space, and I don't know if I should just because it doesn't happen that much. You're not going to get Redox and Fallen Angel Roses on the field at the same time a lot of the time. But maybe you will, and then, yeah, you could probably run Dracosac if you want to. But and also she's searchable with Violet Witch, so if I use something like Redox, I can get this to my hand with Violet Witch, and I can either summon her with her inherent special summoning effect, or I can pitch her in Redox to bring back a monster from the graveyard, or even bring this back if I pitch this and Redox and I have a different monster in the graveyard already. Just stuff like that. So, and just being Earth actually helps a lot. And I guess that's kind of the recurring theme. Redox actually is kind of the big addition. I don't know how necessary it actually would be, but it turns out alright. Gigaplant, because constant recursion of plant-type monsters is pretty good in my opinion. And he's a beater. 2400 attack is still not, nothing to laugh at, That's still pretty good. And, especially since you can keep bringing back your Talayas. Talaya will protect your Gigaplant from being destroyed. And in return, if she dies, Gigaplant can get her back. So, you have a crazy layer of protection sometimes, but drawing this card might not be the best thing in the world, but again, this is why I'm actually running the Redox in here. Violet Witch, again, I am not the biggest fan of it. I mean, I do like that it searches for a plant monster, but it has to be destroyed in battle, and a lot of people are going to be not attacking, so it's kind of weird, actually. It's kind of weird how you're going to get this off. That's why I'm only running 2. But Violet Witch does have, more utility now because I'm not just getting Lone Fire or whatever. I can also get Dandelion if I have that in Redox, or I could get Fallen Angel Roses or Gigaplant if I have Redox. And I can pitch them both to the graveyard to special summon a monster. Special summoning this is pretty good because then you can bring back Lone Fire Blossom if it's already in the graveyard. Or you can pitch Redox and one of your Earth Plants to bring back Lone Fire. Lone Fire bring out another Gigaplant and then normal summon the Gigaplant or use Supervise, use this effect, bring back Lone Fire, and then get another monster. You get Talaya or Titania, whichever one you think is more appropriate for the situation. So yeah, Violet Witch does allow you to get some of those combo pieces, and this deck is kind of weird, and it's one of those decks that you need specific cards to get things rolling. It's not as simple as just, oh, I need like 1 or 2 cards. You may need like several. But, I mean, you could search them out, but it's not as consistent. That's why I'm not as big of a fan of it as somebody else may be, and I definitely wouldn't understand why no one would really run it in a plant deck. So, yeah. It's Lone Fire because it's freaking Lone Fire. The card is just really good. And, you know, it's kind of like a universal plant support stuff. I mean, heck, the new Flower Princess is pretty much her effect when sent to the graveyard works pretty much like Lone Fire Blossom. So I don't know what that means for Lone Fire Blossom. I don't even know. I remember someone saying that he should be banned, but I don't know. Part of me doesn't want that, but I can understand why, because this card it's definitely a card that was designed in a really odd manner. A manner that is abusable to no end, and that's why the card was put to 1 in the first place, because it's that powerful, and putting it to 2 would, I guess the repercussions would be pretty massive, as the Flower Princesses that you're summoning off it. But on the other hand, I kind of feel that it just adds some layer of consistency to the deck, because you don't have an easy way to get these out besides using like Gigaplant, and you can't really rely on Gigaplant all the time either. So, yeah, for now, Lone Fire is staying around, and until, you know, Konami makes decent plant support that can do just what Lone Fire does, but with more restrictions or something, then, yeah, I don't see why he should go anywhere. So, moving right along. Dandelion, because it's more plant stuff, and it's level 3 Earth, so works great for the Talaya plays. Spore, cause Spore. Naturia Rose Whip. This card. It's interesting. I'm pretty sure nobody even knows what this card is or what it does. Or some people do if they actually play Naturia and they actually run this card. But her effects are very simple, and her stats are pretty awkward, I guess. They're not that impressive. Your opponent can only activate 1 spell or trap card per turn. The card actually would remind me of like Great Shogun Shien. It pretty much works the same way. Your opponent can only activate 1 spell or trap card per turn. Now, obviously, Shogun Shien has the little advantage of being able to protect himself if he would be destroyed, and he's a bigger beater of 2500, but this has a bit of utility in the deck as well. But, I mean, at first glance, it's not too impressive. I mean, it's 400 attack, 1700 defense with an effect that might be okay. But there's a couple of things that might make her see some play in the future. Maybe. 1. She's a level 3 Earth Plant Tuner monster. All these attributes are pretty good. Being a tuner means you could synchro summon. Being level 3 means you could go for rank 3 plays with Crane or Junk Forward. Being no plant, you use all sorts of plant stuff to get it back. Being Earth also means it also works with Redox. You could banish this to summon Redox, or you could pitch Rose Whip with Redox effect to bring back a monster. And, also being a tuner means you could go Crane, bring back Naturia Rose Whip, and make Naturia Barkion. However, again, I do not have space in my freaking extra deck for it. I guess I could take out Scrap Dragon, but Scrap Dragon's actually helped me on quite a few occasions. So I'm not sure what I would actually take out at the moment. Maybe you guys have a general idea if I run Barkion what I should take out, but main issue is there for a decent effect and also being a plant tuner monster. It does come in handy, especially if you have fluff tokens. You can make the level 5 synchros, you can go for Armory Arm, so it just depends on what happens. Crane. Because I'm running 2 Crane. Now, I'll explain why I'm running only 2 Crane. And this is probably something that's going to change in the future depending on what maybe the ban list does to this deck or to plants in general. Mainly because, I tend to draw this card a lot, and the way I see it though, I think I only need 2 because I only run 3 Malaya in the deck. And I mean, I have several ways to go for rank 3s. And I would rather use some like Junk Forward and like Lone Fire. It's like the main combo you go for, but if I use like Crane, the Chain Maxi, I'm just as susceptible as if I was using the Psychic Engine and Emergency Teleport and stuff like that. But I would I would rather not overdraw this and no other targets, because then it's just going to be really awkward to draw 3 Crane and like nothing else. It's kind of bad. You want to use Crane to bring back an Earth monster and then go for Talaya, but that's why I'm only running the 2. I want to draw it, but I don't want to overdraw it first turn of the game. In fact, if anything, I'd rather have Junk Forward first turn because I can special summon him. And heck, if I have Gigaplant, I can just tribute summon Gigaplant, and then I'll have a live Crane next turn. So it just really depends, but I just feel like that's just how I think about this card right now. It's good, but I don't want to overdraw here. At least for now. Just depends on what happens on the ban list. Maybe this deck will get a boost, maybe it won't. Who knows? We had a freaking sporadic ban list last format where we lost like a lot of cards. Or for this format at least. Junk Forward, kind of self-explanatory, I guess. You just special summon it. It's a level 3. It's Earth. You can search it with Rhoda. Pretty good. And I run 3 just so I can draw it more often. That's basically why I run 3. I want to draw it first turn if possible. Or if I don't, if I have Rhoda, then I can get it first turn. Having Junk Forward, Rhoda, and Spell Striker, you could pretty much go for Talaya without using your normal summon. So you could do some other stuff like summon Crane to bring back one of the detached Earth monsters that you use for Talaya's first effect. So yeah, you could do some comboing stuff, I guess, but it's pretty awkward if you draw him and nothing else, so because he doesn't have that great of stats. Same with Spell Striker. His stats are poor, but he can attack directly if you need to. And I'm only running 1 because I don't always open with a spell card, but I will most of the time go first and open with no monsters. Or if I'm going second and I have no monsters, that's great too. So yeah, that's just why I'm running the 1. Redox, because I've been talking about the whole freaking deck profile so far. It's mainly because, you know, you pitch this and Earth monsters, it's essentially it's acting like a Monster Reborn in this deck, and it's Earth, so it kind of synergizes with some of the other planets in the deck. And this is also true with like some of the Shinra monsters too. Some of them happen to be Earth, so I mean, you could do some kind of weird stuff with that, but that's for later because I don't want to get too much into the Shinra archetype till I actually do a video talking about them, whether it's a dual video or if it's something else. You know what I mean? So that's why he's in there. And then these are kind of self-explanatory. Rhoda to get Junk Forward or Spell Striker. Mind Control because we could sync with their monsters using our tuners, or we can exceed with them. And it just steals games sometimes. Book of Moon because book. Forbidden Lands because you want to protect your Talayas. You protect Talaya, you protect everybody else. So that's kind of my logic behind it. And it's a very nice battle phase pseudo trap. You can protect Talaya with it. If they try to attack with a stronger monster, you can Forbidden Lance them and then they'll be weaker. So it's also very nice to protect said Talaya so you can get your combos off. So very important card. Duality for, you know, boosting consistency. You don't always special summon, but when you're gonna, then just don't play this card. If you're not planning to special summon, just activate this and get a card you need to go off on sometime next turn or in a future turn. So that's kind of why that's there. Miracle Fertilizer because it's a Monster Reborn for plants once per turn. I mean, is there anything else I gotta say about this? And I don't remember if I explained it in the other deck profile as well, but if you exceed summon using one of the monsters you bring back, this doesn't die. Because the monster that you used to exceed with, it doesn't count as leaving the field. So this will stay up on the field, and you can use this effect again next turn. It's pretty nice. And then, you know, same reason it's called Haunting. It lets me bring stuff back. And when you use something like Foolish Burial to get Lone Fire Blossom into the graveyard, it just lets you abuse it that much faster. You bring back Lone Fire, and then you tribute for Gigaplant, Gemini Summon, or use Supervise, then bring back Lone Fire, get out Talaya, Titania, etc. Or you can even summon the Turia Rose Whip if you feel like your opponent is going to be using a deck that needs a lot of spells activated in one turn. And trust me, there are quite a few decks that do that. They'll have to get past this card first if they want to do that. So you kind of have a pseudo restriction on what your opponent's able to do as far as spells and traps go. So just some interesting combos you can do. And of course, these are just the stop stuff. And this is the lock stuff. So what else is there to say about these? These are just generic good cards. Which is why a lot of these were put to 1. because we can't have two of every generic card, especially when you lose Heavy Storm in the format. So yeah, as far as extra deck, not much to explain there either. I mean, I've considered running something like the new Shinra monster, the new Shinra Exceed monster, but I don't know what to take out. That's something I actually have to think about, what to take out for some of these new cards, or if I have to make a separate build. Who knows? It's just something that I have to think about. I mean, a lot of these I'm keeping just because I go for them quite frequently. In this play, the Shooting Star formula play thingamabobber, I tend to go for that quite a bit, so that's why I'm keeping that. And as far as this goes, I don't know how many of this I would actually run. I sometimes actually use 3 of these in a game, but there were times where I only used 1 or 2. It just depends on like the position I'm in. If I have the advantage, then I don't need to go for the third, but if I don't, then making the third may be necessary. But I do think you need at least 2 in your deck. If you're running a build that can use this card, I would definitely run at least 2. Especially since Crane's pretty much a 1-card Malaya, because you can just bring back any of your level 3 Earths like Rose Whip, Dandelion, especially Dandelion, because you get fluff tokens when you detach Dandelion from Malaya, so this is pretty nice. Then the Valiant Dragon's self-explanatory. I still like this card. This was it's kind of funny because now a lot of people are using it. I think before people weren't really thinking about it too much, but I think it's a good card in certain decks. Certain decks can really use this well. I mean, it's a good generic. You can play him on his own, but I feel like he's really good in a deck where you're going to have big fields and you may want to protect a key monster, especially when it's something like Talaya. Because remember, if you can keep Talaya on the field, all your other plants are safe from card effects that would destroy something. So yeah, it's pretty nice. And then because we can make them, we run the 2 level 8s, or the 2 rank 8s rather. And I feel like these are the best ones I would go for right now. I will try running this guy later on, but again, I just have to figure out what to take out and stuff. And then I guess when the next format hits, I guess we'll update the deck again depending on what happens. But yeah. As far as like stuff I took out, I mean, this is probably the big one that I took out. Marina, Princess of Sunflowers. Now, I do plan to use all 4 of the currently known flower princesses in the deck, but later, because I still have to do a little bit of thinking about combos with the Chirubime, the Princess of Maples or whatever. I mean, there's quite a few combos you could probably do, but I have to think about how to utilize all 4 in the deck, and I'll go more into that card particularly in a separate video. But I remember someone who brought it up before on a forum or something like that, is using cards like Circle of the Fire Kings and Seed of Flame. This is interesting because Seed of Flame, when it's destroyed by a card effect, while you control it obviously, you could special summon a level 4 lower plant type monster except this guy from the grave, and then you summon a seed token to your opponent's field. That doesn't matter too much. You use something like Circle of the Fire Kings to destroy this, bring back Lone Fire, and then if you have Marina on the field, you activate her effect to blow up an opponent's card. So it's kind of interesting. It's kind of like a fire-based plant deck. That's something that made me think that Marina might be best used in her own deck, but that remains to be seen. I have yet to test that myself. But, there's just a lot of stuff with plants in that I just wanted to see, well, let's put this kind of twist on it. I mean, running more than 3 plants is nice, and you have a lot of various plant support that over the years they've been pretty good. Just people don't use them. I mean, when you think of plants, like, what do you think of? You think of like Plant Beatdown? Maybe, but it's mainly Plant Synchro or something like that. Decks that utilize the plant engine and Dandelion Spore, Glow Bulb when it was legal and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, there's all these other options like Teleport too, but as far as like Plant Beatdown, I mean, we're definitely gonna try to do something like do a mixture. I mean, this is kind of like Earth Plant deck mixed with Talaya deck, so I guess it's kind of the best of both worlds. Maybe, I don't freaking know. And that's pretty much all I gotta say on that. So quite an awkward deck profile, and that's what happens when I haven't done this in a while. I go on random tangents that may or may not force people to unsubscribe. Then again, that's really up to them because, you know, it's just whatever. But anyways, if you guys like this deck profile, leave a like if you want, or whatever. Leave a comment, share it with your buddies, even the people you may not like that much. Well, I don't know if you should do that, but, you know, you get the idea. Spread the word, I guess. Then I'm back, and I'm going to try to upload more videos with this deck in the future. And I guess the next time I do a DN video, I will talk about the new Shinra support and Chirubime Princess of Maple. So, yeah. See you guys then.